Hi there, my name is Silas Halden, and welcome to Raw Danger, also known as Zetai Zetsumi Toshi 2. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is a Japanese disaster survival game where we're going to be taking the role of a variety of different characters and cast, all of whom have kind of these interseguing stories that we're not really going to be paying too much attention to. I'm going to attempt to do my best to keep you guys in the loop for the story. If I do have a couch, I have a wonderful person named Suzuka who knows literally everything about this game. He's kind of a modder. He's looked at the game files, pretty much found out as much information as there humanly is possible in this game. So a lot of the credit for a bunch of these different things, including the main route, is going to go to him and another runner named Rosenberg. But if I do end up having a couch, he's going to be on it definitely and can explain a lot of the story, a lot of the history behind this. But Raw Danger is the Americanized, localized version of this game, and it was made by Age Check, and they didn't do the best job. So it leaves for a lot of comedy, and it's a very, very silly and fun game. And I definitely think that it would fit in a lot of those kind of different little areas of silly or awful, because there's a lot in this game that is just so bad that it's good. So if you like cheesy dialogue, cheesy writing, and fun gameplay with a couple of interesting skips and tech, then this is the game for you. I'm just sitting on the options menu here because otherwise it'll play a quick little preview. But to give you an idea, we're going to be starting off with one character out of the 5 or 6 that we're going to be playing as. His name is Joshua Harwell. He is a waiter, and you kind of have this like little love story thing going on with a coworker. Now keep in mind, every single character has their own individual ending. We're not going to be going for the best endings for all of them. In fact, we kind of do some bad things, but we're going to be going through the fastest endings. There is a route in development for the best endings, which are all pretty much the longest ones. It's going to be called the Type A route. Unfortunately, it's kind of just concept right now. We have the notes in the route plan, but there's kind of some weird things that make it a lot surprisingly more difficult than the actual any percent category. So we're just going to be doing any percent today, and let's get started. Now keep in mind, this game series is still going on. It's also called Disaster Report 2 in a couple of areas. This game has a lot of weird localization things, but the most recent one came out in 2018. It's just being localized to the US. Now it's coming out on April 7th. And the timer, we go by IGT, but timer for RTA usually starts right here when we say we don't want to change the name, and we're going to be doing that in 3, 2, 1, go. So a lot of these cutscenes are pretty much skippable unless they have a dialogue option. So we're going to be skipping a good majority of the cutscenes, like this opening one right here that gives you the setting where we're going to be in Del Rey City, or Geo City, which is kind of like the center part of it. Think of Rome and Vatican City. That's kind of what it's like. When an earthquake breaks a very large dam that is holding back all the water from going into the city. So that is what is going to cause the flooding. Along with that, there's also a heavy thunderstorm, which isn't helping the situation. Now, one thing you are going to notice, every single character in this game, with the exception of one, is platinum blonded. Every single one. There is one exception to that, but every single other character is. That is the localization team going. All Americans are blonde-haired and blue-eyed, so that's the best way to make them look American instead of Japanese. The Japanese copy, they all have regular hair colors of varieties. It's usually black or brown. And it makes some funny things, because that's Mayor Goldstein wearing a golden jacket with golden hair and golden eyebrows. And it is just, it's weird. I don't know why they did it, but you can scan your eyes around. Every single character is blonde. So that's the first thing that you're going to notice. Now, I kind of want to say this game is like a Dark Souls game. You don't have a health bar, you have kind of a wetness meter where your clothes will get wetter and wetter the longer that you're in, the longer that you're basically outside in the water. So the game is designed for you to change your clothing out to get dry again. You're going to see that in the bottom of the corner. That's what that is for. It'll tell you how fast your health is decreasing, kind of like a poison mechanic in other games, and things like that. So because we go slower the lower we are, we're actually going to be doing a few well-timed death warps in order to dry ourselves back up again. Because when you die in the game, your health gets reset and your clothing is dry again. So that helps you out with that. But that's Stephanie. We're going to be learning more a little bit about her later on. But for now, we need to go get in the mayor's shot. This game has kind of a very fun opening. It's going to be a little bit while we're going to be stuck with Josh. He's actually the longest character that we're going to be playing as. I also want to mention that this game has a compass system in the bottom right, and you actually get to select a variety of compasses. There's like over 100. There's so many different ones. So a good idea for a bid war would be to have people decide what compass they can use, and I would be more than happy to provide a small little list of like 3 to 5 that would be pretty fun to do. But it's just a nice little bid war. It doesn't affect the run at all. I also want to mention that even though this is considered any percent, this is technically New Game Plus. The only difference with New Game Plus is you get a couple of like 1 or 2 items that you get in a storage bin later on, but it's basically the only difference is A, you get to choose what compass you like have at the very beginning without going into the menu, and B, you also get to skip cutscenes that don't have any dialogue options, which saves a lot of time. But anyway, Mayor Goldsey wants his water, and he told us to be very careful with it, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. No, we're just gonna run all the way over. If you actually listen to the dialogue of it, he actually yells at you and he's like, what did you do? You spilled the water absolutely everywhere. But now we are going to begin to see the real problems of what's going on as the dam finally breaks off. So we're not going to see him yell at us actually. It's kind of funny, but there's a lot that you can do in this game that's kind of just optional little things, but this game has a lot of different like little choices. Like for example, there's a yelling mechanic in this game where if you yell in that big crowded diner hall, everybody looks at you like you're absolutely insane, and also one of the waiters comes over and yells at you, so it's kind of funny and he dips his head down. So yeah, so another mechanic that I haven't talked about is shouting. Shouting is actually very useful and will be for a couple of skips later on. First thing we need to do though is get these people's attention. Normally you'd have to walk over to them and talk to them because you're telling them to evacuate the hotel, but we're just gonna do it like right here. And see, whoops, there we go. I forgot which carpet it was, but it saves us from like having to walk over there and get them, and we'll see a couple of other things later on that's kind of humorous. So we're gonna make our way over. One of them said that Aiden Chase, who we're gonna be seeing later on as Amber Brazil, was seen in here. We're supposed to grab him because we're trying to evacuate everybody. I don't know what he did, but he just completely destroyed this entire bathroom, and now it's flooding. So we're not going to make it over through the gate. We're going to actually find a crack in the hole here. Whoops, gotta kind of align myself. This game has very weird controls, I will admit. They do take a little bit of actually getting used to. So hopefully that doesn't cause any problems later on. I don't think it will. Another mechanic is we can actually warm ourselves up at these little bonfires. Think of Dark Souls, and that will allow us to get full health, and it also dries our clothes as well. We're not really going to be using that too much. There's a couple of times that we can take advantage of it, but usually death warping is going to be a little bit faster than actually warming up, because you pretty much immediately pop back up, and you also, the loading screen doesn't affect the IGT time, so because of that, it's usually going to be a little bit faster than RTA warming up. Anyway, so now we have to save Stephanie. She's been trapped in this room, and we need to push the step ladder over there, and we also need to turn off the power, which we're going to do right here so we can get past those live wires. And, oh god, we're being chased down. So there are a lot of action set pieces like that, and Josh is just gonna narrowly escape that and goes into the slow motion of like 5 frames. I'm pretty sure that's intentional. I'm not 100% sure if the game is just kind of freaking out and can't handle them. But this game has a lot of weird quirks. For example, this game was made in Japan originally, but the NTSCU copy of it actually runs at a different frame rate. So we're coming at you at a crisp, clean, smooth 20 FPS, which breaks the game in a variety of ways. I can talk about those more later on, but when we're holding on to things and moving around, that's going to be one of the things that is broken. It's a lot faster in the NTSC version. We're also gonna come right here, and we find Stephanie's for some reason in the locker. I don't really know why, but she's gonna be chilling in there right now. We're gonna come over here. Look at this. It's gonna tell us that we can push it down with some help. We don't really need to worry about that right now. We're just gonna tell her the locker's wobbling, and she's gonna help us push it out. Now keep in mind, we have Stephanie's cell phone in our hands right now. And now instead of doing the rational thing like returning it to her when her phone rings, we're going to answer it ourselves.
Hello?
So it's Stephanie's dad on the phone, and this game gives you a lot of weird different things that you can do with it. Like like you could pretend to be Stephanie and be like, this is Stephanie.
I'll make sure.
It's very, very, very dated and very weird. There's actually a lot of cut content from this game, and one of the big scenes that they cut out was this conversation that's going on right now. So the game doesn't really, well, it does explain it later on, but Stephanie doesn't have the greatest relationship with her father and her stepmother, and it's become more apparent why later on.
Come on.
Also, that line right there is one of the few times there's actually swearing in this game. It's almost in none of it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and I don't even think it gets any worse than damn. I think every other time it's like just really mild. So as you can see, we're back at the banquet hall, and it has completely collapsed. I don't even know what happened whatsoever. But yeah, so we get a couple of dialogue options. A few of these matter, are very important to getting very specific endings, so I will be careful when trying to match through those later on. So I just love Josh's face there. But fun fact, if you're playing this game casually, you can actually kind of romance Stephanie. Like all these different dialogue options, what it does is it gives you a check. It'll give you a point if you say the right thing, and that goes towards the relationship meter. And then, you know, it doesn't really change a whole lot. She'll start calling you her boyfriend instead of just her friend, and little things like that later on. And also, this is just going to completely collapse. You'll learn that Josh has the upper body strength of a strong man. He is incredibly powerful and should be feared. But it gives you a lot of checks, and there's one dialogue later on that I wish we were able to show. Unfortunately, we can't, but when we get there, I'll explain it to you. Also, I'm going to try and go for a little skip here. Alright, we're good. So if you grab onto that couch, normally that wave is supposed to knock you down, but you can do kind of weird stuff. If I was faster, I could actually like step up on there, and that gives me iframes from the wave. But yeah, so keep that in mind. Josh is trying to romance Stephanie. He's trying very, very hard. This is the only problem with the game, is there are a couple of sections though that are like this, where it's one single dialogue choice and you get a super long cutscene. Thankfully though, I can talk more about the story, and also it leaves a lot of time for donations. And you get a couple of funny little things right here. Like for example, this cutscene, broken glass falling from the sky, and Josh just stares up at it. He's not very smart, I'll be honest. He's having a little bit of a struggle. So yeah, there's some weird stuff with this game. Thankfully though, it's actually very marathon safe. Even if we die or even if something goes wrong, there's usually going to be like a small time loss. I did a run recently of this game where I haven't played it in a couple of months, and I didn't really remember the route, and I was still 5 or 6 minutes below my estimate, which is about 2 hours RTA. So that's definitely not going to be a problem. But yeah, so now we're going to come right over here. This is also one of the weird times. We're going to come over here. That's going to trigger all of this. And we're going to make our way back over to Stephanie, who's now hanging out right here. And this is the only time we actually have to grab her hand and lead her away. I don't know why. It's just this one little part. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But we're going to make our way up here right now. And now we are going to grab another, we're going to grab a megaphone, because we need to get some attention of some other people that are on a different side, and they need to help move some things for us so we can get out of here. Also, if you see me just careen off the edge of something, just don't worry about it. And one more thing, it is faster for me to actually crouch down and crouch back up to pick up an item on the ground. I will admit that I'm not very good at doing this. I do forget a couple of times, so it's only like a second or half a second. But yeah, so if you ever see me like just walking and I just careen off the side, I promise it's not my fault. It's the controls for this game. They do not make it very easy on you. like right now. There's a couple of different settings that you can do. I'm also going to grab this backpack just for safety. You don't really need it, but the emergency pack is kind of a staple in this series. We're also going to equip the bullhorn. That is going to allow us to get the attention of the people over there. And then what they're going to do is they're going to move a gigantic box so we can get through after we remove the sheet, and we can get over onto the other side. There we go. And again, if you see in the bottom right corner, that compass, that's just usually the one I have. There are literally hundreds, or not hundreds, but there's literally dozens of different selections. I'll narrow it down to 5 ones that I think would be really fun for a bid war. Anyway, we're going to pick up that kerosene. We're going to come over here. We're going to use the kerosene tank right here, and that's going to fill up this this thing that's here. Don't know why it's here, but it's going to get everybody nice and warm and toasty. So we get another little cutscene right here where Stephanie is going to be kind enough to give her jacket to an old lady, and she's going to talk about how we're such a cute couple. And again, it gives you another weird option. You could be like, no, we're just friends, and then or you could be like, come on, babe, you know, we're together, right?
No.
And that's kind of this game. It gives you like one normal line of, hey, you know, that makes sense. That's what a reasonable human being would say in that situation. And then it gives you something where it's like, no person would say that. Also, another thing is like right here, this like crouching and holding onto the railing, that animation is much faster than the Japanese version by a lot. So anyway, we're making our way out escaping from this. This game has some incredible set pieces. Like, this is absolutely insane for the age of a PS2, and it's very, very fun. So again, I highly would recommend it if you got to do so. But anyway, we're going to make it over. We're going to jump just in the nick of time and make our way over here. We need to get all those people over onto this elevator shaft, and hopefully nothing bad happens. And you know me saying that, there's something definitely bad gonna happen. But for now, we're gonna grab this rope ladder, and then we're gonna head back over here. And then we're going to attach the rope ladder to this thing, and this will allow us to get a couple of people back up here. Unfortunately, though, we're gonna skip the cutscene with it. We were too late to save some of the people. We got a few of these guys up here, including a chef with a giant hat. But unfortunately, the other waiter that we were with didn't make it. And this gives you some more options. You can either just leave her there or take her with you.
Let's go.
Also, for some reason, the game isn't really loading or doing anything here, but there's still, like, lag. Like, this is, like, 10 to 15 frames right now. I don't know why. It does it on the emulator version. There's no way to make this game very stable. And a lot of the mechanics are tied to the frame rate, and you're going to see an example of this game being at a slower frame rate working in our favor. So we see this guy over here. We can see a little bit of blood, so he's injured, and Josh is kind enough to offer assistance. Now keep in mind, he's a scrawny teenager, college senior. But he's going to pick up this really burly man, throw him over his shoulder, and through this rushing water, he's just going to make it, and he's going to go for gold with the jump, and he's going to make it. Look at this leap, this performance. This is an absolute madman. That is like, I don't even know how to explain that in normal human being context to people when I talk about that. It is great, it is hilarious, and it's one of the reasons I love that game, for those little scenes right there. But normally on the regular frame rate, you're supposed to kind of hold on to those like beams that are hanging out and make your way over very slowly. But Josh is just a powerhouse in this version, and he's just gonna, like, not only is he moving like sideways, he's facing the actual current.
Damn it. It's not moving. Huh? What do you mean it's not moving? Well, that's not good.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the life bar during this very long cutscene that we're going to be getting, which is going to set up some stuff later on. Also, we did make it out of there, thankfully, just barely.
Hey, let me go.
So yeah, we're going to help this nice old lady because it's just slower to push her out of the way, but it does give you the option. It makes sure to let you know about the old lady and just yoinking her out of the way. But yeah, Yeah, so during this cutscene, I'll talk about the health. You have a variety of clothing that you can put on. Some of these give you spaces for inventory. We're not going to really be worrying about that, though. Some of them give you better water protection. Some of them give you a little bit of extra life, kind of. It doesn't really make sense. You want to have your body temperature stay high. That way you're not going to die from that. There's a couple of ways to get it back. You can do the heat packs, which will restore it a little bit. You can do a first aid kit, which restores it a lot. But it's not actually as good as heat packs because it doesn't help you retain heat. You can warm up in these barrels, or you can put on dry clothing. We don't really have to worry about that too much, but any fall damage you see me take is not actually damaging him. It's damaging the clothing that we're wearing. The clothing will get damaged if we take too high jumps, and it will eventually fall off and break. We don't have to worry about that, so we're going to be taking advantage of that later on. And you know what, if me saying something like that, you're going to notice. That being said, it is slow to do the falling animation where we take damage, so we're going to try a couple of like jumps to avoid this. I don't think we'll get it, but it's not that big of a deal. It saves like 2 or 3 seconds if we do. But yeah, and during this cutscene, we're watching, they're basically saying that a person named Amber Brazil has escaped custody, and we're also going to meet the world's worst cop. Because keep in mind, this disaster is going on, and there is one cop that is going to be coming after us. You know, hell hath no fury like this police officer does for this poor 5'6" girl in a pink sweater. Anyway, right now we're going to heal up here. This is one of the actual few times where it's faster to do so. We can do a death warp as Josh later on to dry our clothing and get back our heat. But yeah, then we need to be a little bit careful here. We see that suspect that we were talking about in that cutscene, and we get the worst cop with the best line in this game. The greatest, amazing line. I don't even know how to explain it other than it's like the room with the "You're tearing me apart, Lisa." That's how great it is. So we're going to point around saying he's over that by that car, and wait for it.
Hey you. Don't you even think about running.
Not only does he say that line in the weirdest way, and we cannot skip it, I am mashing the button, it forces us to listen to that, and he somehow takes this handcuffed girl who's handcuffed in the front and places her arm behind her back. Also, I am running around a very specific way in hopes to manipulate Stephanie. She will come down here, and we need to lure her over to that area in order to make her wait in a very specific spot that we need her in later on. So I take a really wide berth around there, so she'll follow in that way, and then once she starts walking, then we can come over this way. Also, that water's electrocuted, and yes, I have more than a few times accidentally jumped into that that electric water, because even though this game is platform based, it's really not that good. Alright, so here I'm going to try and do a very specific jump. I don't think I got it. Yeah, so sometimes you can jump and you don't get this really long animation of him being injured, but overall, it's not that big of a deal if you don't get it. You know, we're just going to make our way back, and oh man, that's going to be falling for us. Going to climb to the ground, hold on. There's going to be a couple times where, like, Josh will be, like, a little bit wobbly, and if you crouch to the ground, you don't take damage, and you also don't fall over. So we're going to be keeping that in mind. And now we're going to talk to Stephanie, and she's going to ask to stand on my back. And of course, we are going to allow her to do so she can climb up there, and we can continue on through this area. So she's going to head over here, and we're actually going to use the give option. You really don't use this too often because you don't really need to give your companions clothing. They can't die, so you don't really need to worry about their heat. But yeah, so we're going to give the rope to her, and she's going to throw it down after tying it to something. I don't know, one. And we're going to be making our way through here. We're also going to do a little bit of skip. Normally, there's a wave that comes over here, and we have to, like, hold on to something. But instead, we're just going to come onto this car, and we miss it. And then we're going to run on this side. If we run down in the deep water, then we go a little bit slower. We also have the RNG of those items right there. There's not a lot of RNG in this game. But that like little section of how the like floating pieces of trash hits you, that is random indeed. So we got a pretty decent pattern, not too terrible. I had to go a little bit early to avoid it, but overall that was pretty good. And that is the first major section of the game down. And we're doing pretty good on timing. Josh's story takes about 40 minutes before we go to the next one, and it's kind of weird with the characters. Some of them take really long, like Josh is here, and some of them are about 6 or 7 minutes. It kind of just depends on the story. The main reason is like very specifically how quickly we can get to an ending. If you look at the type A for the story, it's actually kind of about the same for all of them, but we're going for different endings for different characters, and some of them are a little bit easier to do so, and some of them are not. It's also kind of interesting to note the ending that we get is most likely the rarest ending that you can get in this entire game. It is such a rare thing to happen because most people don't know and don't do the specific parameters in order to reach it. So just kind of like a little thing to note right there, which is very cool. We're not getting the ending that most people get. And it's a bad ending. It's a very, very bad ending. Here we go right now. We get a little bit of a cutscene right here. So we were originally going to use the train to escape. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So Stephanie sees a couple of survivors on the other side there. We can kind of see them. They are literally just like these cardboard pieces of outlines, and it could not be more obvious. We all like I'll show you guys right here just very, very quickly. But we see Stephanie go ahead, and if we turn our cutscene, you can see Mayor Goldstein, and it's just a cardboard piece. Fun fact, Suzuka, who is again the runner that I saw, originally figured out that we were supposed to be able to go there as another character. And you'll learn that a lot of this content actually works for us speedrunners. Also, you saw Stephanie right there. She's not dead, don't worry. She's just unconscious, and we're going to go save her. But first, we need to pick up a couple of items. We need this lighter, and we need this speed handle. The speed handle we are going to use in order to open up these two gates right here. We're also going to, for marathon safety, come over here and warm ourselves up. This is like the second and only other time that we're going to be using that thing. But we're going to come in here. We're going to use the speed handle. And alright. We are on our way now. Again, a lot of this game has a lot of choices, and our choices will affect how characters have to deal with things later on. So Amber, like, we're going to be playing as her. I'll spoil that. And so pointing her out to the cop will affect the story. We're also going to equip the lighter here because we need it to use the speed handle. Otherwise, it's too dark. I don't know why. Now, if we go through this area with the lighter in our hand, it actually makes Amber's section harder. So to avoid that, we're going to go back into our inventory, and we're going to unequip it. Oh, God, gosh dang it. It's weird. When you turn it on, when you equip the lighter, it automatically boots you out of the menu. But when you take it off, it doesn't. So we're going to be on our way. Yeah, it catches fire on that wreath. But if we don't do that, it puts cops in this area. It makes it really difficult for Amber later on because you have to go past them. So we're going to come over here. This is another choice. This is going to make Amber's life a lot harder, but it enables us to get an ending early with her, which is why we do it. And it's also faster than going down there and going through. He's going to completely collapse this entire subway tunnel. And we can see right there is Amber in the distance through the fog. You can barely see her outline. So we just sent all of that in her direction. But we're going to very carefully go over here. Okay. Now, if the entire world wasn't collapsing right now, we would be able to have a variety of ways that we could wake her up. Instead, we are going to pick her up and escape. But you actually get one where you can sniff her. Yep, you can sniff her. And if you say that she is beautiful after sniffing her, it gives you a relationship point with her, which means she was very okay with you just sniffing her while she was unconscious in the middle of a dirty subway. So take with that information with what you will. Also, there is a bug called the water bug. I will explain more in detail later on, but theoretically we could die right here and there is nothing that I could do about it. So hopefully it doesn't happen. If it does, then it's not that big of a deal, and we got it. So this is a good example to show you. What happens is the game is doing a constant value check. It's going from 1 to 4, like 450 or something like that for the water rising. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really, really fast. The water is supposed to stop at like 419. or something like that, and you die at 420 is what the value is, I think. It's supposed to stop at 420 and not kill you. However, for some reason, it goes from 419 to 421, and it skips the check to actually stop the water there for that position. So because of that, it kills us. It is a very fun run killer, and it's only on the NTSCU version of the game because of the frame rate. So that is why we die right there. You'll see here, it happened again, which is very surprising. I've never seen it happen twice in a row, so this is definitely bad RNG. But again, my estimate is extremely generous. There's not a lot of RNG here except this one thing. So if this happens during a marathon, it is no big deal whatsoever. But it's only an NTSC thing. It doesn't happen on any other version, not the SOS PAL version, not the actual Zettai Zetsumi Toshi version. I don't know why. The good thing is, though, at least it does dry our clothing. You can see there in the bottom left corner, that arrow kind of tells us how wet or dry our stuff is. And then that, I'm sorry, it tells us what our body heat is and if it's going up or down. There we go. So this is what's supposed to happen. Then we land, crouch right there so we get knocked over. And you can see it's supposed to slowly be rising. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, it doesn't. It's not a big deal whatsoever. Each one costs us like 30 seconds, so it's not a lot. In my runs, it's not a big deal. We're gonna make it over there. That's the chef, by the way. He's gonna be a very prominent feature, but he has an extremely stereotypical Italian accent. Think like Mario levels of it, you know, being the Mamma Mia. Like, it's literally that bad, and it's so funny. And I wish we could go through the dialogue to show you it. So this area is, I'll admit, probably the most boring part of the run. We can't skip this cutscene that's coming up. I will point out a few little odd things about it, but it's pretty funny for the little of it that we get to see, at least. So now would be like a good time where my couch could explain the story and some other fun little things about it. And we can also have some donation readings. And I'll point out two little things. One, the reason we have to, or three little things. First thing is the reason we have to watch this entire cutscene is because of that one little dialogue box. Very annoying, but whatever. Also, this.
Good girl.
The creepiest child I have ever seen in a video game that was unintentionally creepy. I don't know why that happens. I don't really know what they were supposed to do there or what they were trying to go for. But yeah. Also, another weird thing. Just this. If you don't notice, all of their hair is brown. Every single character in this game is blonde. The reason for that, and it's not like they dyed it after, it's because in the Japanese version they have brown hair and they didn't re-edit those photos to make them blonde. Like, we'll have a flashback that happens about 10 minutes before, 10 or 20 minutes before we actually get to the character's playable part. They have like a little flashback and their hair is brown, even though it's blonde. And they didn't dye it in the 20 minutes that happened before that. So, I don't know. This game is very weird. It had some problems with localization. And it's kind of like, I think, why in the newest game, they literally just are... It's just the Japanese game, but with English writing. Like, they didn't do anything different. They didn't rename the city. They didn't make it set in a completely different country. It's even weird because there is a recurring character in the series named Kelly Austin. And she appears in the newest one, but it's her Japanese character and her Japanese name. So most people are not going to make that connection if you don't already know about it. But you can tell that they were just like, our localization has been very wonky. Let's just do the Japanese one and put subtitles on. Also, a helicopter. We're going to be saved, right? Well... Not exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like, that is like what the chef says there. And I'm going to point out a dialogue option because you have the dialogue decision for something coming up here.
No!
I'm going to point it out to you because it's hilarious. So normally it's not a little bit faster, but we have plenty of time in our estimate to do so, and I think it is 100% worth it. But we're going to come right over here, making our way through all these people. And come up to the edge. We need to save the chef. What do? Reach out and pull him up, smile at him, or take his hat. None of these matter, but we're going to take his hat because he's going to reach over, and they're all going to crash out. That's what happens every time. But it just gives you that option. So everybody leaves us behind because they think we're dead because we just fell like 50 feet off of a highway. And somehow Josh sprawled out like that is 100% okay. But that's not all. Don't worry. I'll be pointing out something else here in a moment. But unfortunately, Chef was not able to make it. And we're going to see him right over here, unfortunately dying. And then watch this.
I should have spent more time with my son.
I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. I really just want to be a fly on the wall for that recording session of that. But then after that, Josh climbs back up somehow. He doesn't walk around on the other way and make his way around. He literally somehow super jumps over to the highway and climbs back up. This man is a legend, and I don't even know how to explain it, and I think it's heavily underappreciated. So we were able to make it. Unfortunately, we were left behind, and so we're going to have to figure out a way to get there. Now, we're coming up to pretty much the only skip in the game. Hopefully, I'll be able to get it first try, but it's the only really out of bounds, and it's kind of part of cut content. So we think that originally, like, oops, let me drop down here, or not, because I don't know why. Sometimes your character doesn't really like to follow your instructions. So we're just going to jump down right here. It doesn't really matter if we injure ourselves or get wet, but this game has a lot of cut content, and a few of it kind of seep through the cracks, and we think this is the reason for this glitch. Like originally, so what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take a jet ski and then do a completely like way of getting around this. We're not really going to do that. We are going to be going the wrong intended way. So hopefully I'll be able to get this first try. We need to put the jet ski in a very specific spot. This looks good. I think that's it. We got it. All right. So we get off of there at a very specific angle, and it allows us to walk right over there. That skip saves probably a good 2 minutes. It's a lot. But we're going to be making our way out here into the void. This is the only out of bounds that we have discovered so far that is actually useful to the route. So we're just going to keep running over this way. And then once we get that, we have this. And our character is actually on there. So we think that originally you were going to be able to walk through here. Normally you'd have to be on the jet ski. So we're not really too sure about it, but we're going to be making our way through. Cutscene still works perfectly fine. You can see that entire bridge get completely destroyed down that way, but thankfully we were able to get out of there just in the nick of time. And then yeah, normally there's like a jet ski there that shows that the jet ski we were on got destroyed, and Joshua just pops back up totally okay. I don't know. This game has made me question a lot more my existence. Why am I playing this game? And it does not let up at any moment. So we're going to continue making our way up. Hopefully we're going to be able to catch up to Stephanie. Whew. And we're making good time right now. We're not too far behind whatsoever. But yeah, so that skip is the only one like it. And yeah, so we're going to be coming up here. We have one more little death abuse that we're going to be doing for Josh. And that is because you can see in the bottom left, my health is going down very, very quickly. And I'm also very, very wet. So we need to do that. Otherwise, we'll be losing our movement speed. And that is obviously quite slow. So we're going to head over here. We're going to be saving Beth, kind of. We're going to step onto the dirt part of this. yell at them. That's going to grab their attention. And we get Beth off there. Now we're going to walk into the water with Beth. It's kind of messed up, but it's okay because we're going to try again. And not only is that going to respawn Beth and she's going to be perfectly okay, we're going to return her to her mother Emily, but we also get all of our health back and our clothing dries. So because of this, we are totally fine. And we're running over this way. And we can continue on. So if you didn't see there, they were on top of a tool booth. And we were able to get Beth down, but it moved further down the river. So now we need to get Stephanie off of there. You can see her in the bottom corner right there, down below. We're going to go save her, and there's a few things we got to do in order to do so. There is a theorized thing called the toll booth skip. It's really only been done on emulator where we had save states and we can see the actual outlines of everything and all that stuff. It's impossible pretty much at this point for a human to do so. It's just too difficult and too inconsistent of a trick to even like go for it during world record attempts. So I think if we were able to find a way to do it consistently, we would be able to skip this entire section and it would be absolutely great. That is the like theoretical holy grail trick for this game. But anyway, we're going to see a sign right here. Josh is going to attempt to move it on his own. Unfortunately, he's not able to do so. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back up this way and we're going to recruit Beth's mom, Emily. Gonna head up here. Right now would be a good time for donations as well as heading back down there because there's not a whole lot going on here. It's mostly a lot of running from point A to point B. So it's a good time to catch people up on here. So we're gonna go talk to the mom. And it's kind of a weird like dialogue exchange. It's like, she'll be all right. Won't she? What happened? Okay, will you help me? So again, some weird localization translations. We don't really need to worry about Emily. She'll teleport down, so we just need to get back as fast as we can. So we're gonna jump onto the bus. Then we're gonna jump down here as well. And Josh is just gonna take the entire brunt of that. Emily takes the entire long way around that we did getting back up there, but we don't need to worry about that because the moment we come back to this sign, she's going to be right here to help us move it into the proper position. So we're going to climb up here right now, and we're almost able to make it back to Stephanie, and we are beginning to get to the end of Josh's segment. So we're going to climb up here. Ooh, don't send my character flying off there. And we're going to pick up Stephanie. And again, unfortunately, she's injured or something. It doesn't make it clear, but we're going to be able to carry her. Going to bait it out over there. That's going to send that side down and open this up. And now we need to go around a completely different way to make it out here. And again, look at Josh right here. Just having a human being free hang off of him while he climbs this ladder. Not only while climbing the ladder, but he is going to be shimmying down these Christmas lights like it's nothing with an entire person on his back. Like, look at this man. This is an absolute beast of a human being, and I think everybody should strive to be as powerful of a man as Joshua Harwell. Look at that. He goes careening into the river like it's nothing. Totally okay. We're going to be making our way in here. That red car is going to be coming after us. We don't have to worry about that. What we do have to worry about a little bit of is the toll booth coming down. We're going to hold on for dear life. We're going to hit that a couple of times. Then we're going to continue on. Also want to mention that Josh's arm does some very weird stuff here. But thankfully, that is going to be the brunt of his danger. And he is going to get out of there just in the nick of time. And they were able to make it. So that is the end of Josh's section. We're going to be going through a little bit of dialogue right here. And now keep in mind, we've actually gotten enough relationship points to have Stephanie, you know, be our quote-unquote girlfriend. So keep that in mind for this like little cutscene. See her collapse, and you know, he just goes, "Why are you crying?" So thankfully we were able to make it. Now it doesn't really mention this, but Claire Wyatt is her stepmother, and Stephanie is trying to get to her.
Hurry.
We should go now.
She's gonna try and do it. We're gonna say we're gonna be going on the helicopter, so we're leaving her out here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go a completely different way, and we're just gonna say bye-bye to Stephanie. If you don't know, this is not a very good ending. So we're gonna get the worst ending possible for Joshua, and we're going to escape on the helicopter and move on to our next character, Amber Brazil.
Everything had to. Stephanie graduated after escaping the.
So we got the worst ending for Josh. I did not mean to save there, but that's fine. For some reason, saving in this game is very, very slow. It's not really that big of a deal if we're doing like IGT runs, which is how we time it, and for RTA it doesn't take too much. But now we're going to be moving on to a new character, Amber Brazil. Amber Brazil is a woman wrongfully accused of a murder. Keep in mind, it is wrongfully accused. So her section is kind of a classic whodunit, you know? Who was the murderer of her brother? Yeah, so right here, we're going to be going through a little bit of a flashback sequence. We have a cutscene showing her in jail and talking to a couple of people, all that stuff. We're going to skip that because that's a boring story. Us speedrunners don't care about the story. We're going to be making our way through before the entire incident over to her brother David's apartment. I'm going to come over into here. And we're going to run into a man named Jaden. Because this looks like a Jaden, right? But, he's going to tell us that he brought this on himself. We're going to go who brought this on himself. And then we're going to head in here. And find out that our brother was killed. Also going to crawl under here to grab this music box. Now, there is like a huge conspiracy theory, and this is where the game's kind of main idea takes off. About a pharmaceutical company doing kind of sketchy things, you know. Very popular story like Resident Evil.
I know how.
My friend likes to joke that this game is like Resident Evil, but with water instead of zombies. I don't agree with that, but
We received a call.
it's kind of humorous.
This is the police. Open the door.
So we're going to be heading over to the police officers. Open the door. And then we are going to get blamed for her murder. And I remember this guy, he's the don't you even think about running guy. He really doesn't like Amber, and he is 100%, 125% convinced that she is the murderer. Like, he will not be relenting even in a major natural disaster. He is absolutely insane, and like he gets my vote for the worst cop and worst portrayal of a cop I have seen in any game, period. So we're going to be in our cell here. The way that we're going to be escaping this is very, very classic trick of yelling 2 times and then a major earthquake and flooding event happens in order to crack open a huge hole in our cell. It's the classic escape sequence from any prison game. Anyway, we're going to grab this towel bar. Also, something kind of interesting. She still has the same animation as if she's wearing her cuffs when she vaults over things, even though she's not in cuffs right now. Anyway, we're going to see a police officer trapped under here. That's going to come into play right now. We're not going to be saving him. Unfortunately, saving him is just a little too slow to do so. Anyway, we're going to grab the keys right there. We're also going to discard this towel bar because we don't really need it. And we're going to continue on our merry way to get out of here. We're going to use the key ring to open this cell gate, and oh no, there's going to be someone here waiting for us. It's the worst cop in the entire world. So we're going to tell him, hey, there is a trapped police officer behind me. We're going to say the guard is stuck in the back. Look what he says. You killed him, didn't you? We shouldn't have let him go in alone. He handcuffs us right in here and then locks the door and says that the basement is completely empty, letting both me and the police officer die just because he thinks that we're the murderer. This is a horrible, horrible cop. Like, this is like what everybody's nightmare of a police officer would be. And I just think it's hilarious because it's so bad. Like, he just like, oh, well, you know, you must have killed him even though we're saying that he's like alive. But unfortunately, that explosion causes him to not make it. And we're going to continue on in order to escape from this area. So more flooding is going down. We need to get through up there to that light. And we're going to do so by grabbing this. The controls here are very weird. I don't really know how to explain them exactly, but I'm trying to turn. There we go. Come on. We're able to make it though. And then we're going to barely escape. Now I'm going to do something called shout teching. In this game, you can shout and that gets the thing of NPCs. So what we're going to do right here, we're going to shout in that direction. And then you're going to turn around and we're going to escape that police officer and he's going to be none the wiser. Now, normally you're supposed to disguise yourself in a police uniform and talk to a guy who's going to be up there. However, we're going to go down the secret route, which is going to not only be faster, it's also going to enable us to get a ending that we need later on as a different character. So it works out in the end. Now, that is the first police text like shout, and there's a couple of other ones that we can do. I'm going to try for it just in case. I won't try it during a marathon unless I'm feeling really confident and practiced on it, because it's a little bit harder to do so. But if we do end up getting caught, my estimate is more than enough for it to be okay. Because you don't really go that far back or have to watch anything uninteresting. So we're going to be making our way over. There's 4 of these you could do, or I'm sorry, 3 of these that you can do. The second one is the hardest. The other 2 are extremely easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to be coming over here. We're going to skip this cutscene. We're going to turn around like this. We're going to yell. We're going to come behind this sign. And we didn't get it. Ah, damn. Very, very close though. We need him to go just about to that like little curve in the wall, and then we can run past him just barely. Not a big deal though. He's gonna run back over this way, and he's gonna be facing around the other way for this one and this one. So not a whole lot of time loss. It's like 5 seconds. But anyway, if we remember this cutscene, we can see Josh right over there. And remember what choice we had for this? We had this cutscene, and we get to hear the dialogue again because we can't skip it.
Don't you even think about running.
I don't know why it cracks me up so much that it's even my stream alerts. So we're gonna get caught right there, and that saves us a lot of time, like minutes, because if we weren't caught and we said we didn't see her, then we would have to do this very elaborate entire thing going around through that entire construction site. It's extremely slow, and if we do this, we just end up right at the position where we need to be. And so it's kind of like you have to get her caught, and it's just a side effect. You get to listen to that line. I don't know why, but we're gonna end up in a police car that's gonna get knocked over, and then we're gonna be able to crawl our way out of here. Now, if you didn't know this, Mother Nature really likes our player character and will do a lot in order to get us out of bad situations. So we're going to be coming right up here. Going to be able to escape the water flow that comes crashing down this way, then engulfs the entire streets. And then we're going to run back into that police officer after just barely escaping that. And right here, he aims his gun at us and says that it's another day in paradise when he gets to shoot a criminal. This is a horrible, horrible cop. See, look at this. But thankfully what we can do is we can grab onto this pole right here, and he's going to get swept away. And we're okay. So we can continue on for the next part of her story and show off the next Shout Tech police skip that we're going to be able to do so. And that's going to be the last one that we really use, because this is the only section where we need to hide from police officers. We're also going to be meeting another character that is a lot more relevant in the Type A route. If you play this game casually. His name is Aiden Chase. We actually met him earlier with Merrick Goldstein. He was the man who completely destroyed the bathroom. So he's gonna notice that we're in handcuffs, but he's actually going to believe us that we're not criminals, and so he's not going to be turning us into the police officers. So that is a very good thing. Also, we have random debris here. It's not really that big of a deal, but it can totally get us stuck on it in this like little area. So hopefully that doesn't happen, as we're gonna be moving right through here. It doesn't do any damage, it just blocks you, and it's kind of annoying. So Aiden's kind of a nice guy. He's going to be helping us escape a couple of these upcoming police officers. He's going to be wanting to distract them. And normally you'd have to wait in this section for him to walk down and talk to the police officers and get them to turn away. We're going to completely ignore that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our health back. We're actually almost done with Amber's part of the story. But we don't really have any other good death warps, and we don't have any other positions where it would be viable to do so. And so we are going to stop at one of the the campfires and use that. Yeah. And again, keep in mind, like, he's going to help us try and figure out who killed our brother, supposedly, in the story. It's very much a whodunit to her brother. But we're going to ignore all that for now. We're going to climb over here. Once we get about halfway, right about there, that is going to draw this police officer, and we're going to wait at this edge of the sign. He's going to continue looking down, and right about now, he turns around the other way, and we can run right through instead of having to wait for Aiden. Then we get through the subway, and we can continue on. That skip saves about 10 to 15 seconds, so quite a bit in a game like this, which doesn't really have very many of those. But we're going to have like a little section right here where we kind of talk about what happened surrounding our brother who worked at a pharmaceutical company called NorCal. If you actually play through the entire game, you learn more about NorCal in the story and all of these people's different parts about what's going on. I can't really explain it too well during the actual run. It makes me sound like a crazy person. But we also get this little line.
Based on what you've told me, you're clearly the murderer.
So Aiden just says like straight up like, you're a murderer, but I believe you, so you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, we're gonna be heading into the subway area. If you remember as Joshua, like you see those reefs, if we were going through this area and we had our lighter out as him, we would actually have to deal with a bunch of police officers, and we'd have to like sneak by and hide from them. So because we didn't do that, we are going to be totally okay, and we can just continue on unencumbered. Sort of. Until we get to the part where, if you remember Joshua moving that metal bar, well, I told you guys how things you do as one character might affect another. This is a great example of that. So we're going to be coming over this way. I'm going to be very careful here. This is kind of a dangerous section, so I might be a little bit quiet. Oh, we can see that right now. Look at that. Oh, whoops, wrong side. So we're going to climb onto here. I'm going to be walking this. Again, platforming is very, very bad in this game. And then we're going to come right over here. He's going to tell us to be careful. I have lost runs because it changes your camera right there. And your movement, for me, is based off of camera, kind of like, not camera position. So we're going to ignore Aiden, and we're going to come over here instead. I'm going to be very careful here because I don't want to match through the dialogue too quickly.
Good job. You okay?
This guy's going to see we're in handcuffs.
Just come with me.
And we're going to go, I'm tired of running. And we are actually going to turn ourselves into the police officer and say that we were the murderer of our brother David.
Don't you want to avenge your brother? Don't you want to prove your innocence?
And then Aiden kind of makes fun of us.
Saying that you're the
He's not a very nice guy for several reasons. And I accidentally chose the wrong option because I forgot there's like weird things with that. So let's try that again.
Never mind, just cover me.
So we have to go through that entire thing. I forgot you only get 2 options there, even though it says 3. You can't actually choose the last one, so that was my bad. But we get to hear this more great dialogue, as if that entire thing just didn't happen. Thankfully, it's not a big deal, like the ending's still to us, but there are some times where like that would have screwed me over. It's the only dialogue box where it has a fake 3rd option. So we're gonna do, and I'm tired of running instead. And then we're gonna continue on, and that is Amber's story that we get to tell the worst possible ending for that character. And then there's a police officer who tried to murder us multiple times. And look at that pose. You know, somebody with a pose like that, he's not a good guy. He's not a friendly fellow whatsoever. But thankfully, we were able to make it out of there alive. And now we can continue on to the next character, and is one of my friend's favorites, Suzuka's favorites, Isaac Schillner, a taxi cab driver. And this section is really cool casually because you actually get to drive a car. I say casually because you'll find out why in just a moment. But now this weird cutscene goes on for a little bit too long. I don't know what happens. So now would be a good time for donations. We're not going to save our data, and we aren't sure about that. The game really wants us to. And now we're going to be moving on to the 3rd character out of the 6 that we're going to be playing. So right now we're going to be going over as Isaac Schillner, and his story is really good, and it gives a lot of explanation about that thing with Amber and all of that that's been going on. Unfortunately, we are going to get none of that, so I'm going to leave you guys in the blind about NorCal Pharmaceutical. So we're going to mash through with this text right here. Now, our taxi cab can take some damage, so we're going to be pretty careful about that, and we're going to try and avoid taking any damage. Otherwise, we get a dialogue pop-up that freezes our screen, and it costs us a couple of seconds if we accidentally do so. We're going to come over here. We're going to get in our car. Now, hopefully I won't be running into anything. It also spawns traffic sometimes if you go around the wrong way. But we're going to be making our way down through here. And yeah, I accidentally took damage right before the cutscene, so we got that little one right there. Not a big deal. It's like 1 second, but still kind of annoying. But yeah, so now we're going to be on our way as Isaac Schillner. We did have a passenger with us, but we're going to be saying goodbye to him in just a few moments. So we're going to drop him off down here, and then we're actually going to be running into somebody new. So this is our passenger. For some reason, I can't remember her name. She's going to tell us to go somewhere, and we don't really get much of her, like an explanation of her. You actually learn more about her and her story and all of that stuff. But basically, she's a journalist / reporter, and that's all I'm going to tell you guys about her. Because in the run, we don't really see her too much. And again, you can probably guess what happens. Here we go, another little driving section. This is actually going to be the last time we're going to be driving the car, which is a shame because it's very fun to do so. But we're going to be coming up here, and if you recognize this area, we've actually been here before as Amber. So this is the police station that we're going to be at when another earthquake happens. And this car goes careening into a gas tank. Now, our passenger is going to get out and help and kind of see what's going on. And eventually, Isaac's kind of just going to get fed up with waiting for her. Also, I lied. There are 2 characters in this game without blonde hair, and Isaac is one of them. I think it is honestly, though, the reason he does not have blonde hair is mainly because they actually forgot more than anything. But we're going to go park our car and figure out what is going on. Gonna be making our way through. Don't worry, we're not going to be getting hit by any traffic. They're just going to get really mad at us like any normal car would if we just ran into the street without looking both ways. But we're going to come over here and talk with her for a second because she's going to be discussing Amber Brazil and the murder suspect who killed David. Now, if you remember how we escaped as Amber, we knocked over that, like, tank of gas, like, hose, and it caused a huge explosion. Again, character actions will affect your other characters. This is the example of that. So that's going to cause a massive explosion. I'm sure you're wondering what happens next. Well, this happens. So now this entire thing has collapsed and we need to get out of Dodge. So we're going to do so. We're going to climb up here. More explosions. We're just gonna leave her behind. Don't worry, she'll be okay, right? We don't need to worry about her or anything like that. And Isaac is gonna just barely escape that collapsing building. So anyway, we're gonna continue on. Now, normally for the game to continue, we would actually need to help her here to get out and navigate through that smoke. We're not gonna do that. Instead, we are gonna be doing a complete 180. We're going to make our way to our car. A construction guy is going to come over here telling us that we need to get out of this area. And we're going to leave the customer and evacuate. Yep, this is Isaac's ending. He has the shortest one to get, and that was his entire playthrough. Normally, he has one of the longest character type A routes. But because of that, we leave her behind and get out of town. And again, character of actions will affect others later on, so keep that in mind. Because that one that we do right there, that is a big one. So now we're going to be playing as Paige Meyer. She's a high school girl. And actually, her endings are not too different from each other. Or I'm sorry. There's not much of a time difference. They're very different from each other, but the difference between the best ending and the worst ending for her is like 20 seconds. Much smaller of a gap in comparison to literally every single other character. Also, this was what I was talking about. Notice how she is blonde right there. Just keep that in mind for the cutscene coming up here. Also, now would be kind of a good time for donations if you wanted to do so. She has a lot of cutscenes that are unskippable and are flashbacks to something. So there's something really very interesting. So this is like will be a very good time for a few donations. But keep in mind, she was pushed just in there. She has black hair here for some reason. I don't know why. So she's a bullied high school girl that is bullied by some really bad people. Alright, so here's something called chair skip. Watch this. I just did chair skip. So, kind of a fun fact. It's called chair skip, but it's not. That is a totally intended route. but the runners for years always would go around it because we didn't realize we could go right through it. So just kind of a funny little inside joke with us. Also, the second non-blonde character we've seen. So that's kind of like Kelly Austin. She was actually one of the main characters in this game's prequel called Disaster Reports, which was about more of an earthquake rather than a flood. I believe it was an earthquake, but this is not her first rodeo. So she's a lot more of a, whoops, gone the wrong way. These like classrooms all look the same, but they can kind of get confusing. So she's the only non-blonde character because they wanted her to, I guess, be recognizable. I don't really know. Kind of a fun fact, Disaster Report 4 came out recently, and Kelly Austin is in that game too, but she's not Kelly Austin. That's not her name. I don't know. The localization is just... It's something. It's something that makes this game absolutely amazing. Anyway, we're going to get into the flashback and then we're going to continue on here. And we're going to meet one of the creepiest characters in the entire game. And his name is Mr. Savage. That's right. I'm not even joking. It is canonically, it is in the game, Mr. Savage. I don't know why. Yeah, we're going to get more sadness and more bullying. Very, very unfun stuff. So we're going to hear a noise. We're not going to check it. And we're going to continue on. And here is Mr. Savage. And I swear this can be a character study for how to make your character creepy. He's hunched over. He has this weird smile on him. And he has the creeper hands. I don't even know how to explain this, just in that little weird smile, like, look at this guy, you can tell, just like from everything about him, that he is a creep. So he's gonna try and chase us and I guess murder us. He's not gonna do a very good job at it. I have never ever been caught by him, and it's actually kind of hard to do so, but we're gonna continue on through this way right now, and that is going to allow us to escape Mr. Creeper, but not for long. In the Japanese version, he holds a ruler, and I think, like, the model didn't get ported over correctly or something. I don't really know, but he's weird, man. I don't even know how to explain it. Anyway, we're gonna skip that cutscene. And again, kind of a fun fact, Emily is also in the next game. Like, Paige, I don't believe is. I'm not 100% sure on that, but Emily is definitely in the next game, so... I don't know why, which means some of these endings aren't canon, but I don't really think they were too worried about that. Anyway, we're going to find out that for some reason there's a piano in the hallway, and Kelly was unfortunately trapped under it. Now, you actually have the option here. Again, this has some funny dialogue choices. Normally, it's like, I'll go help you, and that's like a normal, rational human being thing, or you can point and laugh at her. But we're not going to point and laugh at her because it's slower. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the fire hose and do this really weird rigging in order to lift it up. I feel like this is extremely convoluted. And I have no idea how this would work. Somebody who's like a firefighter could tell me if a fire hose could hold this tension. I don't understand it, but it's going to allow us to save Kelly. So Kelly is going to be able to get out of there without any problem. She's going to thank us for our help because we are such a, nice and friendly person for helping our buddy make it out of there. And right now, it's just going to be a lot of mashing. Like, that's the best way that I'm going to be able to put it. We're just going to continue mashing through as fast as possible. We do actually need to make a couple of dialogue choices here. It's not that much if we miss them. It's a couple of seconds at most. But it kind of gives an idea as to what happened in the original game, because this game is very, very separated from that. But you kind of just explains like, hey, I was on Capital Island, I had to deal with all this like bad stuff.
Yeah.
Her dialogue choices don't really matter here. They pretend like they do, but pretty much she says the same thing. It just depends on what Paige says to it. So yeah, this lady can't get much luck. There's 4 of these games. One of them was a PSP only game, so I don't really know much about it. I'm not sure if she's in that one, but I have a sneaking suspicion that she was. So I think she's been in all of the main series games. And then, oh no, not only do we have this, we have Mr. Savage back at it again. Thankfully though, we can crawl like an absolute mad lad to get away from him. We make it over to our teacher and this happens. So he falls over, and that's the last we hear from him. Fortunately, very, very fortunately, we aren't going to be seeing him throughout the rest of the run. A little loading screen. We're going to be going into the second part of the high school here, where we're going to be meeting up with a couple more characters, including Emily, who was the one that shoved Paige in a locker. She is going to be injured, however. Making our way over right here. Out of the cutscene. Now, this guy wants us to actually go outside and, like, check and see kind of what's going on, which is why he gives us the gym key. We actually don't need to go outside, we just need to use it. Over here, we're going to use the gymnasium key. That is going to unlock it, and we're going to turn right back around and head back over here. Also going to avoid all that falling. Going to head back over to Kelly. And then all of a sudden, we're going to get this kind of raving lunatic scientist. He doesn't make much sense in this spot, but he will make more sense later on.
Excuse me.
Now is another good time for donations.
How about okay.
So we're going to continue right here, but before we can go, Emily is going to grab our leg. Now, you get an option here, you can either help her walk or not. It doesn't matter, she's still going to come with us, however.
Hey, it doesn't, because help. What do you want?
And this game wants you to do the good ending, but it really doesn't make a very good case for it.
I'm not feeling well. I can't walk. Take me with
So
you.
we are going to say no, and we're going to leave her. But don't worry, for now, she's okay. So we're going to continue on here. We're going to be making our way up this way onto this thing. And fun fact, most places, if you walk in the wrong way, you just go off the side. This is the only area in the game where it has invisible walls that don't allow you to just go flying off the edge. And we got back right here, Mr. Savage. No, I'm just kidding. This guy's a different character completely, but it does try to trick you into thinking that he is the man who has been creeping around and chasing you. We'll see more of that later. Now we're going to continue on right here. We need to make it to the helicopter that is on the rooftop in order to escape from this natural disaster. Everything's beginning to crumble around us. Thankfully, we're going to climb right up here onto the stair, if it will let us. And then all of a sudden, oh no, it collapses. And guess who is hanging on the edge? It's our least favorite girl, Emily, with Paige looking down on her. And this game is hilarious because this is where you get to choose what ending you get. You can either save her and take her with you to the helicopter, and that's the best ending because you forgive her.
Right. Stop.
You can mercilessly taunt her until you eventually fall off and Emily survives.
Oh, help!
Or we can just leave her.
Bye.
And then she... I like how like the scream gets cut off, but it's just like one... And that is only like 5 seconds faster than actually saving her. So that could be another bit worse. Save Emily, don't save Emily. It's not that big of a deal. This cutscene isn't that different. I definitely think the compass bid war would be a much better incentive instead.
Okay.
And that was Paige Meyer's story. Now we only have 2 more characters to go through before we are finally at the end of this wonderfully beautiful game. Again, now is a good time for donations as we kind of go into the character transition from Paige Meyer to Ivan Kozlov.
I guess I'll never. But when Emily almost fell from the stairs.
All right. So Ivan is kind of very interesting. He doesn't have many cutscenes, surprisingly, but he's still a pretty long one. And he kind of needs the most death warps out of any other character. So like right now we can see this is very, very slow movement. This is him when he is slightly injured, and he gets very, very wet and very, very cold easily. So we're going to be doing a couple of minor death abuses. The first one is actually going to be coming up right here. So that lady is Sierra Young. She is actually David's, the murdered victim's girlfriend. And this story is kind of like the epilogue of the game, where we figure out like what happened and what caused all these problems. Also, this is the first death warp. The reason we do that is because he starts out like very wet and at about a half HP. But if we do this, you're going to be seeing right here, he is back to healthy. We're also going to be turning this camera around because this area lags very badly, and it kind of wants us to keep on looking in this direction. If we look over at this area, it drops to like 10 frames. Anyway, we need to get this guy's attention. We're going to yell at him from about that spot right now. Whoops, wait, no.
Excuse me.
Oh, we can do it a little bit closer. He's going to basically tell us like what's going on, and he's going to help us save Sierra Young's girlfriend, or Sierra Young.
What do you think?
Also during this, we're actually going to be collecting these memories, and it's going to allow us to use them like puzzle pieces to gain some more information. Okay, she was in the rain the entire time, and so because she was in the rain for such a long time, she's going to develop a feature. Being cold and collapsing means you gain a fever, and we need to cool her down. We need to cool her down in this weather, so we are going to be using an ice pack. So keep that in mind. We are using an icy patch to save a freezing woman with a fever. So we're going to head right here. We're going to come over here. Use the item. Use the icy patch on the freezing cold woman. And it's going to go, oh no, we need to still help her. So we're going to use the stethoscope. It's going to tell us she's freezing. So now we need to go get a blanket. I don't know how to explain this. I'm sorry, boys. So, fortunately, this care worker has a blanket, and we're going to catch his attention right here. He's going to come outside and say, oh, she's feeling cold, take this. We're going to take the blanket, and now, after using the icy patch on a freezing cold woman to cool her down, we're going to use a blanket to warm her back up. This is like some 200 IQ logic that even I don't understand after dozens of playthroughs of this game. But thankfully this does work. It does cure her, and now she's going to be nice and fine and ready to continue on our journey, because you recover from, you know, collapsing in about 5 minutes. Anyway, another thing we learned about Ivan is that he actually has amnesia. He does not remember what happened or who he is even. He doesn't even know his name until she tells him. So these two knew each other before the disaster. So now we're going to go try and figure out what happened to David and what we're going to be able to do about him as we continue to try and figure out like what exactly happened, because there is definitely a major conspiracy in this game. So coming up, we have another amazing part, and that is Ivan is a big trickster. He's very good at tricking people. So we're going to be trying to head to David's, and we're going to go, oh no, the entire area is flooded. What do we do about that? Well, let me tell you, Ivan, he's a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? He's very good with his hands, so to speak. So we're going to come back into here. We're going to come into this medical care center, like little relief camp. We're going to see this air mattress.
Excuse me? Huh?
Oops, wait, hold on.
Huh?
Oh, right. I completely forgot something. So normally we would get this when we're getting the icy patch. There's two ways to get ores, which we needed to actually steer the boat. One, you can find all these different little parts and build them yourself out of cardboard and plastic, or you can come right through here. Normally, we get these ores before we get the icy patch for Sierra, but it's not that big of a deal if we get them here. It doesn't cost us too much time. I just forgot they're right there. So that is my mistake. It's only, again, like a couple of seconds, and you're going to see that we're going to be well below our 2-hour estimate. Let's try this again. We're going to come over here. We're going to look at the air mattress. This guy's going to be like, what do you need it for? We're going to say that we need to use it for Sierra to rest. And then look at their arms. Look at this entire thing. But anyway, Ivan is this worker who is so kind to help us. Is going to help us carry it all the way over to the water and put it in the water. And then he just goes, oh, well, that doesn't make sense, but you're the doctor, so you must know.
What? That's it?
So now we have a makeshift boat in order to continue on. And this thing is unbelievably difficult to maneuver and handle correctly. You actually use it in a couple of other areas and a couple of different characters if you go through the type A route, and it's bad. Also because Ivan gets very wet very easily. After this cutscene, we're actually going to be doing another death warp. Also, this is Dr. Spritz. I call him Dr. Sprite because his name.
I'm glad to see you here.
And we can't skip that line for some reason. There's a couple of lines like that that are just like for no reason. We'll be seeing him later, but that is the guy that we saw as Paige Meyer who came in ranting after we used the gymnasium key. But anyway, we're gonna be doing our first death warp. We're just gonna drop all the way down there, and that is going to send us up at a checkpoint right there and give us our health back a little bit faster than if we used one of the bonfires. Anyway, we're gonna come right in here. We're gonna look at David's laptop, and thankfully Sierra Young actually remembers the password, so we're gonna be able to get into it. Also, for these diary pages, I've been using X to match through the text. For some reason, circle is what you do here instead of X. It's the only part of the game, the little diaries, that you actually use circle to match the text. I don't know why. Anyway, here's an example of controlling this boat where it really sucks. We're going to be going down this current, and you almost have to be at like a 90-degree angle to turn a direction instead of a 45 one. So we're like going to be navigating ourselves. We're going to wait for this to pass. And now we're going to start really turning ourselves around as much as we can, because otherwise we don't really want to go down that section. And it looks like we were able to do that pretty well. Otherwise you end up down there, and it's very, 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 very slow to get back up. But look how much I'm turning left and we're still going downwards. You really have to put yourself at an angle here. So it's just a kind of a quirk you have to learn. You just have to like really understand like how the game mechanics works, and that's why it's very fun to do. So keep in mind, we still have our air mattress. We just deflated it down, So we're gonna be able to fill it up no problem as we climb onto this little truck and make our way up the highway. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna head down here, jump off, come right here, use the air mattress, and we're okay. We don't die or anything like that. So this is a fun little thing. Another fun fact is your item and your menuing doesn't really matter too much because it actually isn't affected by IGT. The IGT timer actually pauses during the menuing. So Isaac is actually a very slow or a very quick character in comparison to his RTA, which doesn't really make much sense, but it's kind of how the game works. So we're gonna get out of there. That was the main part. We're not done just yet. We do have a little bit more to go through. So now this is kind of another area that we don't really notice, but if you're playing through as Joshua, you actually run into these characters and you have to help save Sierra. Whoops, accidentally pulled out the headphones from my monitor. Let me just plug this back in. There we go. All right. So we're going to continue onward right here. So we actually don't meet these characters, but you can as Joshua. And you most likely will during your casual playthrough. And so again, it's kind of where character choice comes in. Unfortunately, we don't really do that because it's slower. So we just have to kind of do this the old-fashioned way. Now don't worry, she's okay, totally fine. But we do need a way to get her out of here. This is kind of a little bit of a boring part in what's kind of an exciting character. Like, he has a lot of like different stuff going on with him. It doesn't really have very much like boring areas. This is the only exception. We're gonna come over here. We need to go and get a tool to get her out of there. So now would be a pretty good time to read some donations or anything like that, plug sponsorships, whatever. This is a good kind of moment for that. We're going to come to this car. We're going to find a jack, and that is going to allow us to get her out of the rubble. Yeah, I was going to talk about more about the compasses. The one I'm using right now is the Hostess compass. I probably wouldn't recommend it for the bid war, but there are a few other great ones that I might be able to show off at the end of this video that would be kind of good. Whoops, that would kind of possibly be good to actually use for a bid war. Anyway, we're going to come right here. We're going to use the jack, and that is going to get Sierra out of that position. It's also going to say you don't think we need this, and we don't. It's kind of interesting because there's only one item where it gives you the option to discard it, saying it's useless, but you actually need it later on. And that is the speed handle. So we're going to be moving like this, not a big deal at all. If you do that like really fast, you won't even end up like this. We're going to be doing another death worm pretty soon right here. First, we got to do a couple things. First things first, we're going to go to the PC. We're going to use it, and this is going to give us a diary thing, and we're going to be it talks about a very dangerous chemical in a special container. We're going to come right over here. We're going to see a diary. These are to give us some puzzle pieces in order to learn more about the Echidna project. And we're going to learn that it was actually a dangerous chemical that Ivan Kozlov, was able to develop. So we're going to go over here. We're going to use our special talent of remembering memories. Now, every single character actually has a special talent like Josh's is actually hugging. Whoops. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, whoops. Wrong puzzle. We need Echidna and myself. There we go. Again, this actually wouldn't lose me any IGT time, which is a nice thing. Do this very easy puzzle very quickly. It's going to tell us what we do with Echidna, which is the project, and it's basically we made some very bad viruses. So we're kind of the bad guy that we learn about. But yeah, some funny things is like Josh's special talent is hugging. So he'll hug Stephanie, and that kind of gives both of the characters a bit of a boost for their BP.
We must. I can't.
So we learned about the container. It's at Delray High School, which is where we play as Paige Meyer, and we're also going to run into Dr. Spritz there. This is where we're going to be doing another death warp, as Ivan, who has the most out of all of them, even Josh, he likes to get very wet very quickly. Anyway, that's going to be the helicopter that went off without us to save Paige Meyer.
This is Delray High School.
Alright. So first thing first, we're going to do a death warp right here. That is going to get us back to full health, so we're not going to be moving slowly anymore. And then the moment we spawn in, we're actually going to be able to use the air mattress, even though we're absolutely nowhere near the water. I don't know why. Then we're going to come over here. This is actually kind of the hardest little part. We need to get squeezed through a little gap right over here controlling this god-awful air mattress. I mean, it's an air mattress, so I guess it makes sense. But it controls the same way as another one. We actually got in there extremely quick. I think that's the quickest I've ever gotten into the high school on this thing. So yeah, that is this is a gold split for me. Yeah, then we come over right over here, and thankfully we get off the air mattress just as it pops onto the stairs. Anyway, we're gonna continue on, and this is where we run into Paige Meyer. Nothing really big happens there, and we can actually skip that part as Isaac because he doesn't have any dialogue options. Then we're gonna climb onto this thing. And here's some more weird noises. I don't know what's supposed to happen here. It's kind of a weird sequence. But now we are going to be running into Dr. Spritz. He's going to give us another like puzzle piece for our memory, and it's going to tell us how to destroy Echidna, the dangerous virus, in order to make sure it doesn't harm anybody. So we're going to do that. We're going to head over to talent. We're going to remember memory. Going to go to method to dispose Echidna. Remember memories. And here we go. Hardest puzzle that we have to do is actually very easy. It has the same answer, the same sequence every single time. There we go, and we learned that the way to destroy Echidna is through electricity, so we need to get to a power station in order to destroy it.
How? Help.
And then we get this. Unfortunately, Dr. Spritz just literally keels over.
Dr. Spritz!
It's supposed to be so emotional. Oh man, the music for this game is unironically amazing. It's so good. I love it. I love this game, which is why I really hope it gets into as many marathons that will possibly allow me to do it. I wanted to show off this game to the world. If any of you have ever heard of a YouTuber who goes by the name of Your Movie Sucks, he is a professional movie critic who reviews movies online. He has a gaming channel, and he did this game for it, and that's how I discovered it. And it is the best Let's Play I've ever seen. Like, he does it with his buddies, and it's so funny. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it because he goes more into the story and some of the weird shenanigans that this game has that unfortunately the speedrun doesn't cover. So please, please go watch that. Now we have like a little part for donations. Sierra Young kind of gives a letter that David gave her, basically saying, hey, I need to destroy a echidna. It's a bad thing. It's a virus. It's not a good thing. So we say, all right, you want to help us destroy it? Come on with us. So we get on this boat, and unfortunately the container is actually going to start floating away. So now we need to go chase it.
No, I have to get it.
Now this boat, you think, hey, this is an actual boat. This must be much easier to steer than the air mattress, right? No, this thing is just as bad and even worse because it's quicker and in a more dangerous area. So we're going to be coming up to the second last part with Ivan. I don't know why I always call him Isaac. I get the two names mixed up. We're going to come up to the last part of Ivan Kozlov's story. Second to last, I'm sorry. But this is the real last part where like it's not just kind of an auto-scroller. So we're going to come right here. We're going to see the container right there. We're actually going to go past it because we need to find a way to connect it to our boat so it doesn't drift off again. So we're going to do that right now. And as you can see here, like, look at the way I'm doing this is the best movement to do so. Like, it's weird. I don't even know how to describe it, but like, it's so sensitive that I'm barely moving the left analog stick and he just goes careening into that direction. But we're going to get off right here and we are going to grab this flag. Honestly, I don't know how anybody was able to figure out that we had to get the flag up there. It doesn't look obvious. It doesn't change the camera or anything like that. I don't know. It's kind of impressive. Also, I'm not going to start moving the actual boat until I turn all the way around. Otherwise, I have to do a huge turnaround. I'm also going to be cutting the boat as tight as I can coming around here. And now we're going to be making our way back to the, the container. And like, I don't even know how to describe this. It's an absolute mess, and it's just kind of something that you have to get good at. Anyway, we're going to come right over to here. Gonna get as close as we can to it. Not get stuck on that thing. Get stuck on that thing. Which has a much wider hitbox than actually like what it looks like. And now we can move on. I'm going to hold this straight. This camera is going to... this camera messes me up all the time. We want to keep on going right about to there, and then we're going to turn it around like this. And that was actually pretty good. Sometimes you can get way further down here, but for the sake of the speed run, you know, I'm going to take it. And then we're going to be making our way to the substation. How he's able to navigate this area and get to the substation, I have no idea. It's really impressive. But we're going to continue on right here. Make our way through, and now we are on to the last part and the thrilling conclusion of this game. I'll be honest, like, we get a bad ending. We get a very, very bad ending. It's kind of a shame because this game actually has a really satisfying payoff. But we're going to be at the substation now, but we need to turn the power on, so we're going to be doing that right now. We get some bad RNG with the wind there. We're going to be heading into here. Gonna come over to here. It's gonna ask us if we want to turn the power on, and we do. And then here's like a little movement tech that we can do that looks scary, but it's pretty nice. That thing's gonna start falling. We're gonna hug this wall. When that lands, it's not gonna crush us. We're still alive. And now we can continue on and turn on the power. However, we get interrupted by a flight. We can see a helicopter right there. Is it rescue? No. In fact, we are going to be meeting the enemy of this game who's going to be trying to stop us from actually destroying Echidna. And we are going to meet somebody we haven't seen in a while, who turns out to be the major villain of this entire game, the big baddie himself, Mayor Goldstein. Bum bum bum. Also, it lets us like choose a bunch of wrong people. I don't know why, but it's just funny. So anyway, he's gonna tell us to give him echidna. And yes, we are going to give it to him. So this saves us from getting shot and having to do a bunch of different things in order to destroy it, and it's not fun. So we're going to choose the option that gets us out of here. We're going to betray Sierra, and we're going to get away with the evil virus that could destroy the entire world, which is how Mayor Goldstein intends to use it. It's not a good ending. But thankfully, we're going to be heading over to the sort of epilogue. Now, I will admit, this is the worst part of the run. Mostly due to the fact that it is very, very boring. There is not a lot here. We move quite slowly. So this is a good time for me to kind of wrap things up, and I'll be, giving my thanks. Suzuka will also be able to offer a bunch of fun facts and more discussions about this, but normally in this game, if you were going through it as Joshua, normally you go through this area as Joshua, actually, if you're going for the type A ending, and you can run and do all this stuff. Instead, we're going to be playing as Keith. Keith is actually the main protagonist that we play as in the original game Disaster Report. He's the person who you play as in that game, because that game only has one character. And unfortunately, he was crippled from his incident at Capitol Island, so he moves really slowly. So this is going to be 10 minutes of slow walking. Now is a good time for donations, for sponsorships and all that, but we need to get to the top of the radio tower, because normally you'd be playing this area as Joshua, and he can sprint, as you can tell. The kind of cool thing about this, though, is like it's a throwback to the original game, and along with that, normally when you're going through this, even if you don't finish up as Joshua, if you finish up as Keith, normally you get the good ending where you get rescued by that lady who was Isaac Schillner's taxi passenger. But because we left her behind, we get a secret, super rare, super awful ending that a majority of players would have never gotten their first playthrough, because most of them would not have gotten those specific parameters of Amber, breaking open the pipe, Isaac leaving her, and Joshua not finishing his ending out to this area. So because of all of those completely different parameters, also we're going to dodge these signs right here, but because of all of those different parameters, we actually get what's pretty much a secret ending. Which is, I think, really cool, and almost makes up for this super long, super drab walking session. The good thing is, though, eventually the music will kick on and it'll be a little bit more exciting. It's actually when a boat spawns. One of our Suzuka was able to pull back the camera and look at that for some of the out-of-bounds secrets, which is really nice. But yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for watching this. I hope it was enjoyable. I hope I did a good explanation of everything. One more little thing that I want to note here is that it's pretty much impossible to die here. This is a super safe area. But one of the things I'm going to be doing that only matters for RTA is I'm going to be facing my camera this way, because if I face it the other way, what actually happens is I get a little bit of lag. The lag isn't that bad because it doesn't affect your IGT timer. Your IGT timer is accurate, but it's tied to the frame rate. So if your game drops down to 10 frames, it's going to go at half speed. So it doesn't actually cause any problems. I just do it for RTA because it's a little bit faster and it's a little bit more clean. The only annoying thing is I can't exactly see where I'm going, so I had to memorize this entire area. And also, the camera really wants to face around the other way. It wants to so badly. So I'm constantly having to fight against it. It's like trying to wrangle a bull almost. Right now, it's trying to turn. I'm not going to let it. I'm just going to keep on flicking it. And again, the controls are really sensitive. It just has to do with the PS2 6-axis and this game doing some weird stuff. Yeah, it's kind of funny. We get this really exciting, upbeat music that is great what's the word I'm looking for? It's like great chase music and like, oh no, shit's going down music, and it's just like it's just like a dude walking. So we get some more collapsing things, and for somebody who's walking, he's surprisingly quick and like flexible. Not flexible. He's pretty good at climbing things. I'll go with that. It's probably from his experience on Capitol Island, which, fun fact, he actually knows Kelly Austin. They were like two of the main protagonists. Oh, whoops. Accidentally slipped right there. Not a big deal at all. They were the two main protagonists that kind of ran into each other in the original game, which I actually haven't played yet. I ordered my copy, and you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to play the crap out of that game when it arrives, and I'm most likely going to speedrun as well, along with the new Zats Report 4 game. So I'll definitely be doing those videos, and hopefully I'll be able to show those games off in a marathon as well. The only one I most likely wouldn't do is the third one, and that's mainly due to the fact that it's a PSP game. It doesn't really feel as interesting. The developers of this game actually did make another one that's very similar. It's not the same universe, but it's actually based off of I think they're called Gaijins. Based off of the giant like Godzilla monsters. Is kind of what it's like. Where you're also surviving that, but there's also those monsters stomping around the city. Might actually get into that as well. But here we go. He's gonna jump right over there. Keith Helm is a badass. He's gonna dodge the sleigh with the GeoCity mascot, which I would think would be my personal favorite because you actually get a compass of that. So I would hope for that to win the bid war for which compass to use. But here's another part. I told you guys a long time ago about how holding onto railings in the NTSCU version is faster than the Japanese one. This is where it comes into play the most, because this bridge is going to begin to collapse right about now. Wait for it. There we go. So we're gonna hold on to it. Look how slowly he is moving on this railing. He moves a lot slower on the Japanese version. Just so keep that in mind. His animation is much faster here. So this is kind of why the NTSC version of the game is actually the fastest, which usually isn't the case because the Japanese one runs at 30 frames and this one runs at 20. But like little things like this kind of just make it just slightly better. We're going to continue on. Keith, come on. I know you can make it, buddy. I know you're going to get out of this. We get the worst ending. He's going to make it onto here, though. Don't worry about like that little weird skipping thing that we did. And we're going to see a lot of blood. This is the only time that we see blood in the entire game, and it's for a character named Jaden, who we met as Amber Brazil. If you follow Amber's Brazil, it gives you an explanation as to what exactly happened here, but because we get the worst ending and the quickest one, we don't show what happened with Jaden. So I'm gonna just give you guys no context. Maybe he just spilled all of his raspberry jam as he was trying to stumble up here. It doesn't really tell us. Well, it does tell us, but it doesn't tell us if we get this ending and we for that. But that Data Disc has some stuff on Echidna and Apollon. We're gonna quickly heal up here right now. That's gonna give us back our health, and now we're gonna continue up the final descent, the radio tower. Almost there, folks. This is the home stretch right now. Another weird thing is the camera shifts right here are very weird and will send Keith turning to the wall unless you memorize it, like right there. It tries to send you into the railing. It's also going to do the same exact thing right at the next one. I don't know why it does that, but yes, it is very annoying. So you have to kind of like wiggle around to get around it, to not bump into it. And it's very frustrating when you're on world record pace and you just keep on bumping into that thing and you're just like, please game, you're turning the camera too early. Anyway, we're gonna continue on here ourselves, dodging all these projectiles, which, fun fact, I was actually I have a friend, Suzuka, who was going out of bounds, kind of messing around with no clip and all that stuff, and those items, even though they will never hit you casually, if you're like flying around, they have like collision on them and knocked him all the way back down to the bottom of the tower. So just a nice little fact for you guys right there. But we're going to continue on right now. More things are going to be breaking, and it doesn't actually show us exactly, but the water level is still rising, and this thing is slowly beginning to sink down into the giant flooding river, ocean. I don't know exactly what it is. But we're making our way to the top of this ladder, and now normally at the end of the game we would actually get saved by a helicopter, but because we got that ending with Isaac, that is where the character choice comes in play for Keith, because now Keith unfortunately is not going to make it, and we're going to see him slowly descend into the water at the very end here. It's very sad, but thankfully it's not canonical, so you can think of it as that in your mind. This is like the bad ending in Silent Hill. It's like every single thing that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Anyway, we're almost there. Just making our way, a few more ladder climbs. You know, in your mind, you can play the Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater song. You know, the What a Thrill. It's kind of like that, I guess. Only definitely not as cool. And here we go. We make it. Time is going to end once we grab onto that pole right there and we lose control. Just gotta make our way there, fighting against it, climbing up, and time. That was Raw Danger, ladies and gentlemen, in 1:52:43, which is actually a pretty good time. I'm going to let the ending play out on my side, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. This has been a fantastic opportunity, and I really want to eventually continue like running this game more and more. I'm gonna let the cutscene play out here. We don't have to watch it. We actually have to like look at the cast to see our IGT time, and we can't skip it. But thank you so much for watching this amazing game. I appreciate the support. There's a Discord where you can ask questions. There's a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about this game, more so than myself. But yeah. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that this game does get into your marathon. I'm going to mute myself and allow the end screen to pop up here in just a moment. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the game. Thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully I will see you soon.